Okay. Welcome back to part 2 of our show. After great frustration that we're transitioning to fun. That's what I'm telling myself right now. Yeah. So, wow. Welcome back, everybody. You know, you prepare a show for a week. Can't tell you how much goes into this. Time, energy, effort. And then you get 45-mile-an-hour winds that cause a power surge and shut off your whole show right in the middle of it. So, I don't know what to say. Fun times. That's it. Mahalo to Australia, Perth. That's the land of your birth. This show has girth. No, seriously, it does. And that's why we have to do a part 2. Not gonna go down like that, you know? Wow. I don't know what I can say, guys. Thanks for tuning back in. Gathering everybody back in to the broadcast. This is where do we leave off? Let's find it again, shall we? This is where we left off at. We came from this. So, looks like we have 2 parts for this show. Rob, I'm back. They can't get rid of me that easy. The forces of nature can't bring this show down. Forever. Just, obviously, they messed it up for a little bit there. Yeah. No, winds. We got crazy winds here, guys. Got crazy winds, and those winds shut us down right in the middle of what we were doing. And we have so much more to get into, so I'm glad everybody's coming back. I appreciate that. We put a lot into this show specifically. This was like, yeah, a lot to go into it. And this is where we left off. Why specifically target women with this psyop, with this dysgenics? Because women possess the capability of influencing men. Most men will just adjust their attitudes and behaviors to conform to the likes and preferences of the feminine. Think about it, guys. Therefore, if the ruling class can influence the minds of most women, the men and children of the society will ultimately be influenced and will follow. That's how powerful you are, ladies. Additionally, women ultimately control at a biological level human procreation processes by way of the control of the selection of males with which they reproduce. Now, taking both of these factors into consideration, it's women who ultimately decide which traits and characteristics are passed down to future generations. And it's not just genetically, it's epigenetically. It's the consciousness that influences it. That's right, it is the winds of change, and we are facing them head on. Thus, we bring it back to the origin of the ancient text that talks of the origins of us, of humans. Whether you look at it metaphorically or literally, that is why the attempt was made on the feminine, and it was Adam's fail. He did not protect and give provision to his woman. He left her. She wandered. She found this tree. She was manipulated to this tree and to the fruit, and she took lead of her own. She did that because he was not holding space. He was not leading. Unfortunately, this is a blurrier image. We have a better one of that same one. You know, here's a good question. Are your likes? Is all such attraction a natural instinctual dynamic, or can a great portion of it be attributed to cultural programming? Now, Edward Bernays was the father of propaganda, okay? The consciousness, listen to what he said, the consciousness and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Love that. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes are formed, our ideas suggested largely by men we have never heard of. This is a logical result of the way in which our democratic society is organized. Think about that. Did you know that the descendants of Edward Bernays is the owner of Netflix? There he is, Mark Randolph. I don't know if you guys knew that. But it's true. We've been programmed. That's why they call it programming, TV programming. And we all bit onto it, hook, line, and sinker. So now we're going to establish what we'll refer to as the inauthentic woman or socially engineered woman. And we're going to get into the inauthentic and socially engineered man as well. Just going to finish this mix first. Come on now. The inauthentic woman, or socially engineered woman, is being, above all else, culturally conditioned to no longer be attracted to any of the qualities of an authentic man. Such qualities include high holistic intelligence, true confidence and high self-esteem, being very vocally opinionated, having very masculine features and an overall masculine look, independence and a rebellious attitude towards authority, and placing a very high value on individual freedom. Such traits are of course seen as highly dangerous to the goals of the ruling class, who wish especially to see society produce weakened men, since weakened men, emasculated men, are very unlikely to resist the state, while strong, independent men are more likely to resist its control. In fact, I think it was Jordan Peterson who said, some of the best men, the greatest men through history, had an element of dangerousness about them, or danger about them. There are no great men who aren't, to some level, dangerous, because those men are the ones that stand in the face of opposition. It is, by its very nature, a necessity of the authentic masculine to protect and give provision and leadership. So here's a little chart for us. Oh, geez. Okay. You guys aren't seeing any slides, are you? Because of how it reset the system. Ay vey. Okay, here we go. There it is. Having fun. So, let's look again. How did we get over here? Here we are. So many visuals we just missed. My apologies for everybody. Edward Bernays, are your likes your own? We are very much manipulated. Here he is, Mark Randolph, co-founder of CEO from the Bernays family. That's some of our larger programming, right? What is going on here? I am not sure what's going on, friends. It's just the system is glitching, I guess. I don't know what's going on here. Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to look at somehow how everything got thrown off. It seems to be our theme today. It's a test for us to get into this information. So much of what we're talking about here and the byproducts of that manipulation to our likes, our dislikes, all components of this programmed dynamic. I'm moving this over here. What's happening? Oh, goodness. Okay, let's try this again. Let's see if I can. There we go. Okay, so good. Put that there. Somehow these got all flipped around, guys. My appreciation to you all for holding space through this. Not sure why these are this way. Boom, boom. We were just there, here, here. Okay, we're gonna move this over here. Thank you all for your patience. No idea how these went out of order. So that's just what it is. Here we go. There we go. Okay, we were here. The inauthentic woman or socially engineered woman is being, above all else, cultured, conditioned to no longer be attracted to any other qualities of the authentic man. Here's our little chart we were at before. Now we're back to speed. Here we go. The inauthentic, so let's get into what they are. Authentic versus inauthentic. The inauthentic beta female is conditioned to submit to the dominator type alpha male. Okay? Then you have the inauthentic beta male, conditioned to submit to the dominator type alpha female. That brings us into the masculinized female, or the inauthentic alpha female, conditioned to desire the dominator type alpha male or to control the submissive beta male. And then we have the inauthentic alpha male, conditioned to desire the dominator type alpha female or control the submissive beta female. This box of 4 here, red squares, is a majority of our population, okay? From that cultural conditioning and programming. Let's look at where we need to get back to and what the point of this whole show and all of this, all these shenanigans is. Authentic, spiritual alpha female, free of social engineering and conditioning, does not play the control game. Authentic man, spiritual alpha male, free of social engineering and conditioning, and does not play the control game. I think you can see the theme here. The theme in the red squares is the illusion of control. Now, control in and of itself is an illusion. You have no control in this realm. Control is an illusion. One of the greater aspects to these 4 red boxes of these false socially engineered versions of us is this illusion of control. It is the psyop of the illusion of authority and control. When we look at this image even of the story of the Garden of Eden, you can see a very beta, inauthentic masculine. Look at him. Oh, I don't know what they did. She ate the apple. I can. Now let's get into this programming for the inauthentic, socially engineered female. The princess programming. Now, we've talked about the inversion of polarity, and I've come up with archetypes for this. Those archetypes are The bratty princess and the dickish prince. That's what I've referred to them as. Those are the two. This would be a good dive into the princess programming. The inauthentic woman has been socially engineered to want to be placated, revered, and pampered. Princess programming is huge in the Western culture, and it starts at a very early age. Through this programming, young women are often taught to value only what can be gained for themselves through relationships with men, to seek only men who can provide for them, to place paramount importance on their own physical appearance, to lure a male to devalue the importance of their own intelligence, to seek money as their main value system, and even to think that no man is good enough for them. This is not the noble king and the noble queen. What is the driving motivation? Security, or the illusion of security. And the inauthentic woman is largely motivated by the psychological desire for attachment and security. To them, love is seen primarily as a form of permanence and attachment rather than a deep familial bond with another human being. Money and government are often perceived by them as assurances of comfort, prosperity, and long-term security. In and of itself, that means you are under the authoritarian psyop, that something needs to control and provide a safe life for you. And just from that in and of itself, you are under this illusion that will keep you from being free. Part of freedom is the potential for chaos. It is one of the number one cells for authority. We can protect you to have a safe life where you will be safe. Nothing bad is ever going to happen. But in that safety, we will control the very life that you have. In order for you to be truly free, you must walk within free will and divine law or natural law. And with that comes what's called an internal monarchy, where you are in control of yourself. And from that, you can comfortably live in an external anarchy, okay? Which means no master or ruler, okay? I want you to think about that. Monarchy, anarchy, they both have one thing in common, archy, or ruler. If one has an internal anarchy and is not in control of oneself, there is a need for an external patriarchy or monarchy to control you, because you can't control yourself. The more you live within moral science, natural law, alignment, and free will, you become sovereign and self-governing. You no longer need a master or a ruler. The primary desire for financial security as a resource for safety can be most readily seen in our culture in the most frequently asked questions by a woman to a man when first meeting, which is, what do you do for a living? Think about it. Ultimately, the desire for security is the desire for an illusion, since there is no such thing as true security as long as you live in a physical reality. And in the times that we're in, on the verge of world war, everything could change drastically. I mean, on the verge of a solar minimum cycle, within the window of great catastrophic destruction, through the cycles and ages of the changing of age we are in. We're in that right now. It is the very nature of the transformation of an age. Let's take a look at an example of this. We're going to take a look at a few.
Hey, what's up? Hi. You're pretty cute. Wanna hang out sometime? No. I mean, I'm just new here, so I just want to see if you can chill, hang out, something. You do? Yeah. I mean, we can just be friends.
So I'm sorry the audio is poor on this first part, but he said, "Hey, what's up? I'm new here. What you want to hang out sometime?" "No, I'm sorry, I have a boyfriend." He said, "We don't have to be." She's like, "It's pretty serious."
Sure? Yeah. All right. Well.
10 minutes later.
We got $1 million deal going on Thursday. We can't screw this up. Trust me. Yeah, no, it's a simple. About 48. All right, let me call you back. All right, bye. Hi, how's it going? Are you sitting here alone?
Yeah, I am.
Mind if I join you?
Yeah,
You don't happen to have a boyfriend or anything when you're trying to see? What do you got going on later on tonight?
I'm not doing anything. What are you up to?
Nothing. I don't have any plans tonight. I was wondering maybe you wanted to get a drink.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Awesome. Yeah, why don't we... Oh, actually, I'm here meeting up with my boss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm here to give him this car. Here you go, boss. I'll wash your car.
Give him a jacket?
Got your jacket in the car.
Grab his jacket.
All right. Would you like me to clean? Yeah. Why? Why does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
So you still want to grab a drink, or?
Wait, so do you have a boyfriend or you don't?
No, it's not that serious.
I guess we could hang out maybe like 10, 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, you wanna...
But I hate liars and gold diggers.
Listen, I don't like this stuff. I'm going to show you some other examples. I don't like this stuff. I don't, it's sad to me to point some of this out. I'm going to give you a few more examples. Again, I'm posting a lot of this stuff because I want to bring awareness to it. So we're going to look through some other examples of this and how it's become kind of rampant in our culture. We're seeing this socially engineered programming. And we're seeing the effects and impacts in both men and women from this mess that we're in.
That time I was seeing him, I was kind of just using it as a psychology experiment, and I didn't really like the guy. I more just wanted to see if I could break his heart. And it was fun.
You think man's that doesn't care about what women get in her life, or just what's her income or whatever?
You know what? Hold on. Let me ask you a question. You're with a guy, right? You supported him, right?
Yes.
Relationship ended, right?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because
Do you know that narcissism is the most shame-based of all the personality disorders? Narcissism is not about self-love at all. It's about grandiosity, driven by high performance and self-hatred.
Be rude or mean or anything, but I was at a dinner with this woman who was so obese. She was telling me how she couldn't find any swimwear for girls who are curvy. I thought to myself, oh my God, like, you're refusing to live in reality. You're delusional. I am curvy, you are obese. And she kept referring to...
Imagine somebody acting completely, entirely, fully, and unequivocally insane over you. I mean, just utterly insane over you. And you the whole time sitting there thinking, this is my person.
People don't abandon people they love. They abandon people they are using. Who comes up with this? Is it a 10-year-old like writing things down and throwing them out to the universe?
The way gaslighting works is it's a denial of a person's reality. That's step one. That by itself is not gaslighting. Now, the step two of gaslighting is, then I tell you there's something wrong with you. So imagine a person in a relationship where there's infidelity.
Give the three of y'all a bonus.
If I call my girl right now and say, I want half of the rent.
Nah, you know what? Fuck that. I'm gonna do it too.
Hi.
I need you to pay a couple dollars to my rent next month.
Look at what the fuck a narcissist is, right? Because I'm tired of this. A narcissist, which requires medical diagnosis, these ain't go to nobody's school.
So this is just
what the fuck a narcissist is.
This is
right?
just scrolling.
A narcissist.
This is just scrolling through feeds of what people are posting. People from all races, especially in the Western culture. Okay. And they only have a minute, so some of them are longer. So I started to open some of them up.
Which requires medical diagnosis. These ain't go to nobody's school but the school of fucking Justin LeBoy. Symptoms include excessive need for admiration, disregard for others' feelings, an inability to handle any criticism, and a sense of entitlement. Now, who the fuck does that sound like?
Wait a minute.
Who does that sound like? Who's really the narcissist? Fatality. Stay focused. But
do not become so lost in love that you become the man every woman is praying for while being with the one woman who is praying for another man.
Be careful with the people that you give your energy to. They say they love you, but they hurt you. So make them wait, give them space, tell them patience is a virtue.
So you're saying is you don't think there's hardly any decent women out here?
No.
Do you women agree with that?
I think from like 1950s standards, I would agree. Yeah, I think that's 100% true. Like women back then were virgins. They had cookbooks. They were wives. I don't think most.
The biggest red flag, hear me out when
So you're saying
This one's important. I redid this one because, like I said, they're
you're
only a
saying
minute.
is you don't think there's hardly any
They
decent
give you a
women
minute.
out here?
No.
Do you women agree with that?
I think from like 1950s standards, I would agree. Yeah, I think that's 100% true. Like women back then were virgins. They had cookbooks. They were wives. I don't think most women today were raised to be wives. They weren't raised by wives. How would they know how to be one?
Ooh-wee.
Here we go. Here's a good one.
Much. He was too great. We dated for 3 months. He was not a pushover. He had friends. He was cool. He was perfect. And he took me places and spent money on me. And he had a car and he had a bank account and he had health insurance. And I broke up with him. I went back to my ex who got me a $15 gift card to Taco Bell for my birthday.
That was a bad decision.
And this is how men become dogs. Now you seeing it right here. You creating a supervillain. He's been spending his whole time being a good option for you while you chose to go back to the ex that treats you like shit. You legitimately cannot make this shit up. Built.
He was too.
For any man fighting for a relationship, where he knows he's not taken care of, appreciated, or loved enough, remember that you are the man someone has been praying for. And the more time you waste fighting for the wrong woman, the less time you get with the right one.
This is why it's important for you as a man to have the abundance mentality. Become a man who attracts a lot of women so you're no longer having to settle for low value women. And here's the thing to always remember, there will always be another fish in the sea.
Do you guys prefer
So I just want to say, like, look at even the videos of women saying this to try to, that have brought awareness, and they're saying this to men because they actually are seeing what's going on. And obviously then there's the men that are also reflecting this and identifying why a lot of men have gone into a more disconnected place from being destroyed by women. There's another one coming up where a man really expresses a good example of this. And also, again, we're identifying the social engineering, okay?
younger, older women?
Older women are more confident and assured of themselves.
Might set up. They might start cheating if they haven't been doing that already, trying to find another person to replace.
But I also think it's because like men don't talk to women in general, like in a club setting or like other places.
Well,
but they still walked in there. They knew what they were doing.
Well, I mean, without getting overly political and taking that direction, did you guys see that thing about that girl who posted?
Let's move on quickly after the breakup because they are mentally checked out at least 6 months in.
This is for the women. Women, if you hear women talking.
This one I had to reset, so bear
Let's
with
move
me.
on quickly after the breakup because they are mentally checked out at least 6 months in.
This is for the women. Women, if you hear women talking like this, please shut them down immediately. If you care about your connection to the world and to guys and just relationships. When I was younger, maybe like 7 years ago, I dated a girl for 3 to 4 years. She lived with me. I paid a lot of her bills because she was in school. I had just graduated from my master's degree. So I was like, yeah, I can afford to help you out, make it easier for you while you're in school. I had found out that she was cheating on me with her best friend's brother's friend while I was working a second job to help her pay for her bills. At the end of the breakup, I asked her, I said, how long have you been cheating on me? And she's like, for the last 5 months. She was never going to tell me unless I caught her. And she admitted that she was cheating on me for 5 months while she was living with me and I was paying her bills. The amount of damage that did psychologically with me to connecting with other women and just trusting people is undescribable. This does so much emotional damage thinking like this. So women, if you're healthy minded, do not let other women put this image out there for.
Let's move on quickly.
Faithful men will give you so much of their attention that you may start to think that it's because they have no other options. But the truth is that they have other options, including the option to stay single. So be careful, ladies, of pushing away a good thing.
I don't give a fuck what anybody says. If a girl is your girlfriend. She is your main woman. And she's advertising her body on the internet for other men to look at. That is fucking cheating.
Couldn't walk away from the relationship, so God made the relationship walk away from you. You've been asking God, why did God let it happen? And I hear God saying, I had to break the covenant because you were going to settle for something that was less than you.
Does this sound like a healthy youth populace for continuing the procreation of our species?
Traits of a female narcissist: no boundaries, hypersensitive, childlike, judgy, insecure, entitled, grandiose.
Are insane. Okay, 80% of divorces are initiated by women. Did you guys know that? 90 goes up to 90% if they have a college degree. No joke. A man could come home, find his wife cheating, divorce her, and she gets half of everything he has. She controls the child, the custody of the children, and can use that as well, can completely stop him from even seeing his children. The suicide rates for men are the highest they have ever been. Okay. I'm just, again, we're just looking at, these are statistical facts. I don't like them. They just are what they are. The neo-feminist agenda continually reinforces the notion that women are the same as men, not just having equal rights as men, but the same in characteristics and abilities as well. This was one of the main techniques used to influence women to join the corporate workforce, which removed them from their traditional roles as nurturers and the heart of the family, to be role models for the youth, for our children. Children were then largely turned over to the state-run indoctrination systems in public schooling in order to shape their beliefs and destroy their health and morals. Abandonment issues are also created in children through parents being absent from them during the first 15,000 hours of compulsory schooling they endure. Okay? In fact, the highest rates of drug addicts, of criminals, of promiscuous individuals come from single mother households. How about that? They've found the statistics for healthy children, for college educations, for successful individuals was from a mother-father household or a single father household. How ironic is that? Well, it's not, because the mothers are the nurturers to grow the babies into children, and then the children require authority because we all have free will, and it's a natural thing to want to abuse that free will. The conditioned woman is being engineered to love the state for small perks they are given by it. On the subconscious level, they have bought into the state as the protective father figure, an expression of parental abandonment issues. Emotional, spiritual, and sexual connections between men and women are being eroded and eventually eradicated by the state. The state continually positions itself to be psychologically accepted as the provider, protector, and husband. The vast majority of women in our society will not speak out against the state for these reasons. Now, when we talk about the programming in regards to height, why is height such an issue? Well, if we went really deep to see, and you start looking into, like I said, the existence of the pre-existing man or the fallen ones who then had children who were giants, there is an intrinsic obsession with height, okay? Height is one of the top factors in the minds of programmed women when it comes to the desires and male characteristics. Why should this necessarily be so? Are taller men more moral, intelligent, or even more skillful? The answer is that people perceive height as power and therefore it's desirable. This fact can be observed in the height of politicians, CEOs, and other people in positions of power throughout our society. But why should this even be so? Should height make anyone more qualified for leadership? It doesn't make them more powerful, stronger, any of those things. The number one attractive characteristic listed by most women as desirable in a potential male partner is repeatedly and consistently demonstrated to be height. In many cases, a man's true moral value system is considered only as a secondary factor, if at all. So here's my question. Instead of your first question being, what do you do? Why wouldn't the question be, do you know the difference between right and wrong? Really? Are you morally sound? Do you know what's right and wrong? Do you live within natural law? Almost all women on modern online dating sites insist upon knowing a man's height prior to meeting in person. Most women will even post their own height as they perceive it so important that many of them actually believe that men are as obsessed about height as they are. Men, I want you to think about this. Is height ever really been a factor for you? Ever? Never been for me. Never, never, never. Now, as we look back through ancient text and ancient records, people still associate height with power for this very reason. Why? Because they are still indoctrinated and programmed to this history of giants that held power. I mean, look at this guy. He's holding 3 dudes up by their hair. Okay, this guy was at least 12 to 13 feet tall, depicted in these pictures. The point is that they tend to flock to men who controlled the most resources, since that would lead to a more comfortable way of life for them. Now, let's get into the hypersexualization and slut shaming. Now, this is interesting because when this was originally done, it was probably about 5-6 years ago, okay? And just in the last 5 or 6 years, has there been an uptick in the full gratification, the enabling of hypersexualization even more so. So the slut shaming is out the window. But women have been hypersexualized in the media, advertising, and pornography, yet they were actively discouraged from having healthy sex lives through the neo-feminist technique known as slut shaming, fear as a method of control through the media and popular culture. And it has changed to where being sexual through these Cardi B's and these different Doja Cat and these different false idol entertainers, they have glorified sexuality as women. And this is where the masculinization comes in, is women are wanting to have sex like men do. And I'm sorry, ladies, there is a basic breakdown of values. We are different. If a man was with a lot of women, I want you to think about what it took for him to be with a lot of women. Okay? It took connection, expression, communication, charm, all these things. A woman can just literally go out and spread her legs, no offense, ladies, and pretty much have whatever she wants. It doesn't reflect anything significant about her character because the feminine has that power to be able to invite that element of sexuality. These kids today use something called body count. It's so offensive. You guys do know body count. That phrase was for assassins, for killing people, right? And they have applied it to how many people that you have been with. When we look at the values of men and women, for men, ladies, what do you evaluate? Can he protect? Can he provide? Can he provide me a lifestyle? This is half of what we're getting into with this. Can he give me the things that I need? And I expect those to be consistent. In regards to what I want and providing me with the lifestyle I have been sold on through this consumer manipulation. Ladies, you do control who's in charge of the intimacy through sexuality. Like I said, you control that. That's why a high body count for a woman is not considered to be, I hate even using that phrase, something that's like a compliment for you. Whereas if a man was able to connect with a lot of women, it shows it took a lot more for him to be able to have that level of intimacy with the feminine. It just did. Unless he's, like we said, 6'4", 6'5", and in the 12% demographic of men today that women would even find attractive. Only 12%. That means 88% of men are not in that category of what's attractive. Think about that. That is insane. Okay. Now, in regards to what men, who makes the call to get married and go into a committed relationship? Ladies, who makes that call? You might make the call for who's going to be intimate with you. Who makes the call to commit to a relationship? The man does. You'll hear, woman, I've been trying to get him to marry me for so long, blah, 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 blah. The men make the call. What do men value? It's probably important for you to know that. What do men value? Well, they value more of the traditional components that have been disregarded. They value fertility, purity, okay? So that means when you give away that sexual energy, your value in a committed relationship, and there are 2 categories of women for men. Ladies, again, this is just how it is. This is me knowing men, working with thousands of men and women as a neuromuscular practitioner, digging out their suffering, getting to know the things that they value, that have wounded them, the things that are important to them, because most men desire actually a committed relationship. They truly do. They just don't trust that the feminine, in the state of socially engineered manipulation that we're at now, in the mess that we're in, that they can trust that when they marry this woman, she's not going to, again, break from them, and through the way that our legal system is orchestrated, is not going to destroy their lives. Okay? So in that regard, the masculine really values fertility, purity, and the true embodiment of what the feminine is. Because the true embodiment of the feminine is to unlock this deeper aspect of the masculine out of the logic and mind and awaken them to be a conscious masculine. That's the greatest power that's been warped into this right here. To the manipulated woman, sex has largely become a form of commerce, a business transaction. The desire for money has become completely tied up and twisted into the motivation for any type of sexual relationship. The mindset goes something like this. If I have sex with this man, what resources can I continue to get from him long term? Men chase so hard after money for this very reason, to attract women who want money. Both genders still continue to prop up money as the most powerful religious belief system on earth. All of this reverts back to a satanic, self-serving mindset that's been orchestrated in our society by these brilliant ancient psychologists that are about mind manipulation. Now, I want you again to think about that for a second. And ladies, did you know that every time that you intimately connect with a man, okay, it's different than men. You have a different neuropsychology. That's why you can't be sexual like men are and not have this effect that happens to you. Every time that you sexually connect with a man, you parabond. There's a neurological parabonding mechanism. And every time that you continue to do that, the more and more lovers you have, the more you burn out those neural receptors to parabond with the actual partner that you would form a relationship with. Which means the more promiscuous, if you want to put it that way, your body count that a woman has, the greater an inability to truly bond with an actual partner, a man who wants to commit and marry you, where you will not disconnect and cheat on him down the road and thus break up that relationship, where the laws in our country are in your favor to destroy what it is that he has worked hard to build, to provide, that you expect him to provide for the life you want him to provide. This satanic mindset plays a major role in the psychology of neo-feminism. The first tenet of satanic ideology is the dictum that self-preservation is the highest law. Put in other words, the survival and comfort of the physical self is always more important as a goal than doing what is morally right. Live only for yourself and care only about you and yours. If you must step on others to get what you want, then so be it, for this is a dog-eat-dog world. The ideologies that clearly define the overarching worldview of Satanism is perpetually me, me, me. I'm gonna get mine. I'm gonna do, you do you, I'll do me, I'll do me. Ego gratification, hedonism, and always wanting to be in control. Would you agree that the vast majority of individuals in our society subscribe to this worldview? I think we've seen a few videos and we're going to see a few more to reflect of that. So, and of course, technology has played a huge role just in the dopamine and serotonin obsession. I could show you videos of women saying that they would choose Instagram over a loving partner because Instagram gives them more. I kid you not. There was like 7 or 8 women in the studio they were interviewing, and they were like, yep, Instagram for sure. No man can provide me when Instagram just gives me everything. I don't know what to say. Okay? Except yuck. And different tactics, asking leading questions under the guise of curiosity is keeping you from true deep vulnerability. In fact, sensuality has been masked as vulnerability. And part of this drive is the motivation, again, of security. The search for security in a man with money or desire to be simply taken care of by someone else is an integral part of the ego gratification, me, satanic mindset. Very few to see and admit the truth regarding this. Most will attribute this to Darwinism or theory of biological responses, when in fact this behavior is deeply ingrained in our societal conditioning. Sadly, most people desire a state of safe and secure slavery as opposed to one of dangerous freedom. and its associated personal responsibility, because that's it. You have to be more personally responsible. Most men are also in this manipulated mindset. The realization that death lurks around every corner is the state of reality that the authentic man and woman live in all of the time. It's not that you're afraid of it. You just have an awareness that life is chaos and the wind can shut our show down, and it's just what it is. This idea of this survival of the fittest has been deeply indoctrinated into human beings who are not animals. Human being is 2 words. We are in our nature to live towards the being, which is the evolution, and this is an involution aspect. And that's the thing, equating money with value. The inauthentic woman's socially engineered to perceive money as the primary value system in human life. This general mindset postulates that something is only worth doing if money is being made by doing it. In reality, nothing could be further from the truth. And this is also why the primary reason why art, music, poetry, and especially philosophy are so drastically de-emphasized in our modern society and even frowned upon, as if something like, oh, if you want to starve, do those creative things, okay? We're going to get into a few more examples.
My first couple of relationships, it didn't bother me that they didn't really. I mean, I think now I have a little more perspective and I see how messed up that is.
Why do you think it's messed up?
I mean, dinner, really? Like, can't buy dinner?
Oh, it's not you chose to, it's that they couldn't.
No, it's not that they even couldn't. They didn't.
You as a high-performing woman with more disposable income than many of the men that you're dating, that's a difficult one as well, because there is some data to suggest that if you are in a relationship where the woman is the primary breadwinner, there's a 2 times increased risk of divorce. There is a 50% increased risk of the men having to use erectile dysfunction medication. There is self-reports of lower sexual satisfaction from women. There is self-reports of lower levels of orgasm during sex from those same women. Again, all of this is on average. There are like tons and tons and tons of people that break this rule. The point is, you as a high-performing woman have the tall girl problem.
Hypergamy. That brings us to here. When the inauthentic woman meets a man for the first time, the first and foremost question again is, what do you do for a living? Why is it not, do you know the difference between right and wrong behavior? Hypergamy, or marrying upward, is a learned behavior that is entirely about the search for security in a man with a high monetary income. Please don't lie to yourself and tell me that it hasn't been a factor when you evaluate men. Let's take a look at this one right here. If we're going to date, I need to know your credit score, how much money you make, and how much you have in the bank, and if you're vaccinated. Okay. All the while, look at him. He's got a knife behind him. He could be some psychopath, but she hasn't even inquired about some of the values of, like, where is your heart and your mind? How about this one right here? This guy wins $181 million in the lottery on Wednesday and then finds the love of his life just 2 days later. Talk about luck. Again, this deception goes back. We're looking at the modern constructs of it. The fall of inversion was seeded long ago. And why wouldn't it be? It goes against the very nature of our creation. Okay? Just curious. It shouldn't. The statistics are all there. Again, 80% of divorces are initiated by women. 90% if they have a college degree. They've been told that they got options. And that the society is in their favor. Why? Rampant consumerism. Women largely drive the world's corporate economy, being responsible for over 85% of total purchases of all goods and services, according to corporate and consumer advocacy studies. This is not only well past the natural expected median, but is ridiculously skewed, and it shows just how much corporate advertising is completely geared toward the manipulation of women, their purchasing power, and their power to influence social trends, and also the importance of this material satisfaction, this aspect of providing that they expect from the masculine through the exchange. Again, taking it back. Seeded long ago. And the distortion of the exchange of feminine roles to even want to take care of the masculine, the family, the household, all of these things, forgetting all of these provisions and this lifestyle is amazing.
There's a beautiful girl that was on Valuetainment Money with us yesterday, and she was conflating cooking and cleaning with slavery as a wife. And I was just like, baby, you are gorgeous, but you are dumb. Slavery? How is cooking or cleaning and taking care of the household and somebody you love slavery? I like, if anything, you could argue that the man financially providing for a woman with the threat of divorce looming over his head, where you have to pay alimony and child support for the rest of your life if you've been married for 10 years, right? For alimony. I don't understand how you couldn't call that slavery. But if I'm like, hey, babe, can you like make a sandwich and wash the dishes? She's like, oh, I'm so oppressed.
Now, I know so many people are triggered and offended by Andrew Tate. I don't personally, agree with all of the components and how it's stated, but you know why a lot of men are resonating with him is because he is breaking from this emasculated norm, and they have no reference for a role model outside of that. And he brings up some solid points that are true.
Female life is more valuable than male life. I will tell you right now, us men are, if someone comes in this door with a gun, we are prepared to die to protect you. We would die on the Titanic so the women could live. If we talk about 5 men dying in a car crash, no big deal. If you talk about 5 women dying in a car crash, it's a big deal. Female life is super valuable, and you are super valuable members of society, and you have something very, very important to do. You have a far more important purpose on the planet. You procreate, you create life. It's a beautiful thing. You have far more important things to do than be out here carrying garbage. That's why men do it.
All the toughest jobs are done by men. All of them. All the most stressful jobs are done by men in society. All of them. The power lines, the sewage drains, the roads, the building construction, all of these components, men are doing these jobs. Again, one of the reasons they have a higher suicide rate, the stress levels in men are higher, depression higher in men. And yet, judgments and expectations about how masculinity should look keeps you masculinized, because this masculinization, this inversion is just so deep. Just so deep.
Is it my trauma that won't allow me to be in a relationship with you? Or am I just getting a lot better at identifying who's conflict avoidant, a selfish lover, resistant to emotional growth, can't take accountability, doesn't know how to validate my feelings, wants me to be their mommy, doesn't support my hopes and dreams, uses manipulation to get what they want, their only love language is physical touch, their role model is Pete Davidson, they identify as a libertarian, they tell me I can't take a joke when they put me down, their grandiosity doesn't allow them to apologize, and now I'm
And that's one of the justifications, is the emasculated male who is all of those traits that were just listed. Here's the counter side of it.
What I've noticed is the men and the women are mad. And they're mad for different reasons, okay? The men say to the women, you guys aren't virgins anymore. I mean, they won't tell you this to your face, but this is what they're thinking. You're not virgins anymore. You guys are fat. You're not even loyal. You get your ass on Instagram. And you're asking me to marry you. And the thing is, most men want to get married. Most men are willing to marry a girl that's a little overweight. Most men are willing to marry a girl that has a lot of body. Like, honestly, I'm just being real here. Most men are going to overlook that stuff. It's not their preference. But most men, and by a lot of it's subjective, but I'm saying by 1950 standards, okay? Most men are going to wife a girl that slept with more than 3 people.
More than 3 people, because the standards are different. Yet women can have these high standards for men, and those standards are double standards, friends. They just are. And again, that is why you're seeing women like this come forward and have these for men. Because a lot of women are also waking up to this, just like a lot of men are.
For all the men out there who are struggling after leaving a toxic relationship, remember, it's not them you miss, it's who you wanted them to be. It's what you wanted the relationship to be. And as much as you wanted them to be your person, the person who's meant for you is never going to abuse you, disrespect you, or treat you badly. This is for all the men.
See, you ladies need to understand real quickly that when you start talking about men who are cut above the rest, you don't get to make the rules. You don't. That's why you end up dating Pookie Ray Ray, Thugnificent, Leon, Brett, whoever, the dude down at the auto parts store. That's why you older women tend to get these younger men, because you can make rules with them. These guys are going to tell you, look, there's a weight requirement. There's a womb requirement. Then there's a behavioral requirement, a level of sophistication. And I listen to a lot of modern women talk as if you have options when it comes to these men. These men are laughing at you guys because the way a lot of you ladies talk, you act like these men are for you. They're not. See, you
bringing it back. Ultimately, the masculine really does want to be in relationship. They do. They've been hammered by this social engineering, emasculated. And I believe, and I did through AI, AI art, okay? Someone said to make the ultimate female, this is so gross. And this is what the AI system did, okay? A woman in a bikini so you could see the front and back side of her, okay? This was literally calculated by running algorithms from human beings today. Like, what? Marriage, divorce, and divorce courts. The formal institution of marriage is often favored by the conditioned woman since it brings a personal relationship into union with the violence of the state, which has been traditionally used and steered to benefit of the female, especially when a marriage ends in divorce. Over 80% of all divorces, we talked about this, are initiated by women. It goes up to 90% if they have a college degree. Mostly because real world men don't live up to the programmed expectations of what this super man that they put these expectations on is supposed to be. Divorce courts rule drastically in the favor of women over 95% of the time. Divorce rates will predictably continue to rise astronomically as long as conditioned women remain attached to the types of unrealistic cultural expectations they have gotten regarding relationships. These expectations are part of the no man is good enough for me princess programming. Money and the maintenance of lifestyle is almost always valued above emotions, feelings, and moral issues in modern relationships. Such a system is institutionally structured to break down the strength of both genders and therefore negatively impact ultimately the family bond, which is a powered structure, and thus the future generations. This is an insanely disturbing chart right here. Wow, we lost a lot of people. It looks like we got a lot of offended people on that one. We're down to one person watching, huh? All right, wow, that one really triggered everybody. They didn't want to hear any of that, huh? I don't know what to tell you. That's the irony, isn't it? Everyone wants everyone to be honest, but nobody wants to hear the truth. Isn't that ironic? Strange. Attractiveness studies. This is insane. Studies conducted to appraise men and women's perceived attraction show that men are attracted to a far greater number of body types and overall physical features than women. When shown thousands of images of females with very diverse sets of physical characteristics, the average amount of women that men perceived as physically attractive was approximately 80%. Women, on the other hand, when shown thousands of images of males with very diverse sets of physical characteristics, were attracted to an average of less than 20% of the men. Now, I want you to understand something about nature. Nature always works in a curve statistically. You will always see a curve. We can actually see, if we were to go into the quacks information, which we can't cover on YouTube, we cover on Rumble. When you look through these charts that we see where they show the spikes in deaths and all case mortality and such things like that, when you're seeing these spikes like this, that is unnatural. That is an unnatural thing. It's nothing to do with nature. Nature operates in curves. So when you look at these two charts, this is a natural curve, okay? This is the general attraction towards women of all types. Look at the chart over here. Look at this spike. Least attractive, most attractive, okay? We're talking about 12%. Women were attracted to 12% of the male populace. Now, you will never convince me that that is natural. This is an example of artificial, socially engineered psyop, psychological manipulation right here. That's what this is. This is artificial. This is natural. This is artificial. Straight up. These are the statistics. That leaves out 88% of men to fit into the category of what women find attractive. That's what it is. They're kicking people off this live, huh? Yep. Yep, that doesn't surprise me. Okay, well, I guess that means we're doing something right. Nonetheless, female appraisals of male attractiveness, this is depressing, y'all, okay? You know that like around 12% of those men are going to be about 6 feet or taller. I remember, I'm 5'11", and I remember as I was a young man feeling like I wish I could just be 2 inches taller. There's something wrong with that. That is its own byproduct of this right here, of this unnatural chart right here. And again, when you ask a man, go ahead, do your own experiment. You ask a bunch of men, ladies, do you care about height? Watch what they say. No, not really. No, not really. Nope. In fact, something interesting, tall women, I found out, have a disdain for shorter women because it has become such a attractive thing and this elusive attraction for a tall man. They want the tall man. They're like, yo, tall men are more comfortable for us to be with. It's a lot for us to, you know what I mean? Like, but that's because it is of an attractiveness. This illusion of size. The question looms, why exactly do women place such staggering importance upon male height? A factor that does not make any man more moral, more intelligent, more skillful, or even necessarily physically stronger at all. Okay, once again, the Darwinists will come out and from the woodwork and say, oh yeah, survival of the fittest. I don't think so. Like I said, tall men aren't necessarily the most adaptogenic to survive. Okay? Women being hypersexualized in this twisted psychological operation that we're in, the end result is an unhealthy sexual life, being trained sometimes to even hate sex. When I was in school, our sex education class actually taught us that sex was risky and that good girls withhold and avoid sex at all costs, that men only want to use women for sex, and therefore we should be suspicious of all sexual interest, that sex will hurt. All this stuff has been a stigma that has now swung the opposite way. And I mean, there's so many sick distortions to this, you guys, that have come about. You know, I'll give you an example. These younger generations, apparently these girls have thought, okay, I don't want to, lose my virginity. So they've been going more into anal sex, younger girls, because that's like the new gimmick where they can say, I'm still pure, but I'm doing something. It's so distorted, guys. And why wouldn't it be? Our sexuality is the most powerful energy in our existence for our evolution. So of course it's been under attack. We talk about it all the time. It's exactly what it is. But at the core of this more lower frequency dynamic and this social engineering is this system of control, the dominator or the doormat syndrome. What has now become attractive to the conditioned woman is the inauthentic alpha male dominator or the beta male doormat. The inauthentic woman now desires the corporate cosmo man, the metrosexual, the androgynous hipster, the inauthentic man of every kind. Men also fall for this programming through TV, movies, all of it. We're all being influenced. Remember, with epigenetics, your consciousness can direct your genetics and the generations that follow. All of this has been part of a eugenics program or dysgenics program. Sex ultimately has been used as a means of control. Many socially engineered women have been conditioned that it is perfectly acceptable to use sexuality as a means of manipulating and controlling men to do what they want them to do, to give them the resources they desire in exchange for sex, or even just for the promise of, while one could claim that this is not technically immoral behavior since it is voluntarily complied with on the part of the man, it is certainly a lower level of consciousness and a lower view of human sexuality and the exchange of energy and human relationships, thus keeping us from higher states of true familial union, divine union, and bonding. And that brings us into the war on testosterone. Thank you. You know what? I appreciate that. Truly. You're awesome. All of you are awesome for being a part of this and weathering through the glitches where it's booting a lot of you out of this YouTube. Now, there's been a biological war on testosterone. It's been waged on both men and women by the social engineers. Testosterone, by the way, is a vital hormone for the psychological and psychophysiological health of both men and women. It could be seen as the will hormone. It's the hormone of the will, or the drive hormone. Low testosterone levels in either gender ultimately destroys vitality and normal human sex drive and acts as a means of population control in and of itself. All of this gets compromised and is part of this mess that we'll call moral relativism. Now, the war on testosterone, cancer that kills men, guys, okay? And 1 out of 4 men has some form of erectile dysfunction. It also includes muscle mass. Look at all these squishy, unmuscular men that there are today, okay? Part of that is Taurus or flamingo. Bottom line, the inauthentic man, feminizing the human male, has been one of the primary agendas. The conditioned woman at the subconscious level chooses the feminized male who will not stand up for himself, since her perception has been influenced to see that man as one of who is the most suited to survive is going to be feminized, because an actual dangerous masculine man is probably going to get taken out for the very reason that he will not place himself in danger by challenging the violence of the state. The appearance of confidence. This is a big one. The conditioned woman generally ends up unfulfilled in a relationship even after finding a man with the qualities she believed she wanted. Why? The reason for this is the qualities such women were programmed to desire at a subconscious level are almost always in direct opposition to what they genuinely desired and needed. These dynamics also work in reverse. A very good example of this would be conditioning inauthentic women receive to desire so-called confidence in a man, yet when they encounter men possessing true male confidence, they will often attempt to rip down their confidence, ridicule them, and call them know-it-alls or misogynists or narcissistic. What such women have actually been conditioned to want is the illusion of confidence in a man, yet to run away from the real thing, or to be able to control the real thing. They want the superficial image of that man, but they actually want the control dynamic. And that has a lot to do with the addiction to controlling things, or the illusion of control. Trying to completely master your feelings before leading a relationship will have you living in a cave till you die alone, brothers. Okay? There is a significance, because many men are like, you know what, I can't show my vulnerability. She's going to use it against me. That also is not, it's not the answer. Okay. Ladies. And by the way, a lot of these quotes are from people that are doing polarity inversion therapy, where they're helping men and women to find the natural polarity, because we've been so socially engineered the opposite way. And so some of these can be very triggering, because that's working on the social engineering you're identified with that you thought was okay. Ladies, you heal your father wound by learning how to use feminine communication. Men, if you are holding space for your woman's disrespect, you are emasculating yourself. Breeding out the rebels, rebellion against the state, a reverence for true freedom, and placing high value on personal responsibility and individual rights are traits that are being deliberately bred out of humanity through the eugenics agenda, because such traits are undesirable to the ruling class that control everything, that hold these, again, dysgenic agendas. Socially engineered traits being bred into the new human include a fear of going against the norm, docility, submissiveness, obedience to authority, and going along to get along. Breeding out the rebels. Look at this guy. Oh, I bet you he just looks offensive to so many. This war on testosterone, by the way, ladies, it also has an effect on you. Women also require testosterone, although in smaller amounts than men. If lacking in this hormone, women become over-feminized, depressed, weaker in overall strength and vitality, and their sex drive is usually completely destroyed. So yes, you need testosterone as well. In fact, it can create anxiety, mood swings, hot flashes, low sex drive, and also a larger accumulation of fat on the body. This is, again, many symptoms that come about. Poor tolerance for exercise, dry skin, thinning skin, loss of motivation, loss of muscle tone in legs and arms, loss of bone density, weight gain around the abdomen, depression or anxiety. Across the board, modern medical doctors have seen a disturbing trend of testosterone levels plummeting significantly for both genders. Instead of alerting people to this fact and trying to understand why this is happening, they have been deliberately reducing the levels of testosterone that are considered normal for both genders in medical testing and literature. They are literally lowering the statistical baseline so that it doesn't seem like our testosterone is older. Wow, it is, huh? Whole Mind is saying the internet connection is like being back in 1997. Really interesting how they're just Oh my gosh. Guys, there's so many levels of attack on our sexuality, on our polarity, on our hormonal integrity and balance. Whether it be just the rat race of the workplace and all the stress and anxiety, the genetically modified and engineered foods and the fast foods, the drugs, the alcohol, the BPAs, the fluoride in the water, the genetically modified meats, and of course the SSRI inhibitors, the atrazine in the water supply. We have been genetically under attack. Again, epigenetically under attack. And they saw they had to hit both angles. It has to be the physical as well as the psychological, because consciousness directs the form. Ultimately, the focus has been the destruction of the familial dynamic. If you don't have healthy families, not only will you produce less of the next generation, but the next generation not only gets molded and manipulated by the state, by technology, by the propaganda influencers that are programming it, but also without these two balanced role models and the feeling of family. The attack upon the natural sexual familial dynamic tremendously destabilizes the ability for people to establish firm foundations in relationships, morality, health, and real education. Entire industries thrive on societal disease. True moral values can be devastated through the destroyed familial dynamic due to the lack of proper parenting. And I told you the statistics. Ironically, you have the most healthy children psychologically, morally, ethically, education-wise, from a male and female family healthy dynamic or a single father family. That one blew me away. But the single mother dynamic, which the state supports the most, creates the highest rates of criminals, suicide, high school dropouts, drug addicts, and also promiscuous single people. What was their role model? You don't have, these women have also lost what it is to embody the feminine. They don't even know it. We're talking intergenerationally. Why would this woman know how to truly be a mother or show up for a family and hold that space if her mother didn't do that for her and her mother didn't do that for her? And vice versa for the men. How would he know how to be an integral man if he didn't have that role model in the house? He had nothing to witness except for watching TV. Children raised with little to no moral values eventually have a different value system grafted upon them by schooling, mainstream media, popular entertainment, and their peers, who have often gone through a similar process of moral degradation. Money eventually becomes the only value system, because if you think about it, it's what people end up respecting and honor. Okay, that's it. I just got to be successful. I just got to have money. I mean, like, literally, that is one of the craziest parts about it. And you'll hear it from a lot of these like wounded men. You even heard of some of those videos. You just got to be successful. You just, that, and build your life yourself and focus on that. Ultimately taking us away from this divine, empowered, masculine and feminine relationship. Relationships are a technology. Kings and queens build kingdoms together. They don't want that empowerment of that union between us. That's why we have to look at all this stuff, you guys. Have to. Again, otherwise we get this war on the authentic man that takes form of the emasculation of the human male, a process which breeds out the sacred masculine dynamic, the willingness to stand up to tyrants and bullies with the physical aspect of defense or force. And force is there's even in the pseudo-spiritual community, oh, no force, oh, passivity. Let me tell you something. Violence is the use of force to cross divine law, to do harm. That's violence. It's the use of force to do harm to another. Force is your inalienable right to defend yourself against violence. If someone misuses the force, it is force that protects and stops the use of violence. It is justified, it is alignment with natural law, and it is another one that has been conditioned out in the pseudo-spiritual community for all these passive, emasculated men. The long-term agenda is to create a feminized man that will never challenge the state, and to simultaneously condition women to view the state as an all-powerful husband or father, or something more desirable than the true, authentic, sacred masculine. So then the men don't even want to be that anymore because they want to attract the women. The corporate suit and tie guy is mistakenly seen by the conditioned woman as a man of long-term value because he has money, in place of a genuine man that possesses the skill set to thrive in a natural world survival scenario that can survive beyond the corporate digital world. Most feminized and emasculated men, including those of corporate and suit and tie guys, will most likely be the first to die, okay, if there was a true survival scenario, which we've covered a lot in what is to come, both cosmically, geologically, in this time, geopolitically. We're on the verge of world war even right now. Watch what happens when this system goes down, the society collapses. All of those masculinized women are going to be looking for the first masculine man who could protect and provide shelter. The roles get very clear when you don't have this society creating this delusion. And I'll tell you what, those emasculated, feminized men, they're going to be looking for those masculine men too, because they're not going to know what to do. Okay? Straight up. That just is what it is. And we're going to see what a real mess we're all in. These are just a series, and you guys, you know, I show these in my shows. I'm always introducing these because I'm trying to just use little excerpts for us to identify the inversion that there is. Women who flaunt their bodies yet hide their hearts are implementing the opposite strategy required to be claimed by a dominant man. Ladies, just so you know. A dominant man serves his lady by leading her. Then her feminine self-worth is reflected back to her. Submission is fulfillment. You see, you're not losing your power by submitting to the lead of a man, because a man is in service to you by being a leader. It actually gives you the security that you've been sold on from society you're supposed to obtain yourself. Ladies, your feminine heart is innocent, pure, and virginal. This is why you must learn to use feminine communication. It opens up such doors, and if a man can't lead, he cannot truly devote to you and cherish you. Men, you heal your frustration with women when you learn to communicate with them in a way that inspires their devotion, and that is with clear judgment, not being lost in your feelings, because you can't be lost in your feelings and lead. It's not possible. You can't make clear judgments if you can't, if you're lost in your feelings, which means you can't lead. And men have been enabled by society. We are in a gynocentric society that has told men they need to emote like women, or they're toxic and they need to be more sensitive. And I can tell you from my own personal relationship, when I got to the purest, most vulnerable state of my emotions and my femininity, I'll tell you what happened. I was getting looked at like, are you crying right now? Oh. There was an uncomfortability. Now, I'm not going to say that wasn't crazy and sensitive, but this person herself was very masculinized, and it was from the millennial generation and is a very different human than the women I know from my generation. That was its own eye-opener for me. But what I saw at the core of it was, see, they don't want you to be lost in your feelings. They want you to be the master of your heart and your mind. That means being connected to your feelings, but not lost in them. Neo-feminism is designed to perpetuate human slavery. Neo-feminism is a mind-control-based eugenics program designed to breed compliant slaves and to eliminate rebels, independent thinkers, and spiritually awakened human beings. One of the most fundamental aspects of the program is to influence the vast majority of women to be attracted only to men who are the most fitting to perpetuate the system of human slavery. Period. That's it. So we went from this to this. This is what's attractive now. Tell me it isn't. Tell me that there isn't a pull. Just like men, we have been conditioned to these other types of women. In fact, I think that the boss bitch, as they're labeled, was attractive to me until I identified the inversion of polarity and saw that that would never create a healthy polarity and dynamic in relationship. Period. No society. This is Osho. We're gonna close it out with this, guys, and you guys have been amazing. Thank you all for sticking with me through all of this. And I'm gonna read your comments, Rob, after I go through this, because yeah, straight up, they're thrown Cherokee Proverbs, one of my favorites, because again, a lot of people, especially indigenous people, were always clear on their roles in polarity and the divinity of the uniqueness of that. No society wants you to become wise. It is against the investment of all societies. If people are wise, they cannot be exploited. If they are intelligent, they cannot be subjugated. They cannot be forced in a mechanical life to live like robots. They will have the fragrance of rebellion all around them. In fact, a wise man is a fire, alive, aflame. He would rather die than to be enslaved. And that brings us back to the knowledge of natural law. And learning that naturally activates both hemispheres of the brain, which regulates our polarities internally to where we will return to that natural state. I'm going to finish with this quote from George Orwell, and for whatever reason, they were reversed from 1984. Let's take a read because it's more prevalent than ever. Do you begin to see then what kind of world we are creating? It is the exact opposite of the stupid hedonistic utopias that the old reformers imagined. A world of fear and treachery, of torment, a world of trampling and being trampled upon, a world which will grow not less, but more merciless as it refines itself. Progress in our world will be progress towards more pain. The old civilizations claimed that they were founded on love or justice. Ours is founded upon hatred. In our world, there will be no emotions except fear, rage, triumph, and self-abasement. Everything else shall destroy. Everything. Already we are breaking down the habits of thought which have survived from before a revolution. We have cut the links between child and parent, and between man, and between man and woman. No one dares trust a wife or a child or a friend any longer. But in the future there will be no wives and no friends. Children will be taken from their mothers at birth as one takes eggs from a hen. The sex instinct will be eradicated. Procreation will be an annual formality like the renewal of a ration card. We shall abolish the orgasm. Our neurologists are at work upon it now. There will be no loyalty except loyalty towards the party or the state. There will be no love except love of Big Brother. Tell me I didn't just describe what we're en route towards and what we're actually pretty knee deep in right now. Yeah, friends. I mean, really. I don't want it to be this way. Last thing I want. It's a sad, sad thing that we even have to go into this, right? That we even have to identify this stuff. That it's not just seen, but it's not. Ignorance, right? Ignore-ance. Because it's ignored. And again, as I said before, ironically, people want honesty, but they don't want to receive the truth. Because the truth in and of itself is belligerent, if you think about it. Because we are surrounded by lies. So how could the truth not be interpreted as belligerent? It's having to go against all of the lies that we are surrounded by. In a world of deception in this matrix that has been orchestrated by these psychological controllers. The one power you have is to empower yourself through knowledge, through wisdom, through your personal practices, through your individual efforts to return to your divine polarity and discover what it is. To dear sisters of mine who are in here, they're actually taking some of these polarity programs and relearning the embodiment of the feminine, identifying the social engineering and shifting it. And it's beautiful to witness as I have returned to my dominant masculine from a very feminized and emasculated state I didn't even realize was there, because on the surface I could establish this false pseudo, this inauthentic alpha male, but there was an internalized emasculation that came from my mother. She was a first generation liberal feminist, and it was sought after by the masculinized inauthentic alpha female who I had in relationship. I created that scenario, and it was in that relationship that I saw the inversion. I was actually chasing the goal of being this sensitive, feminized male, this in-touch, feminine male, because that's what society told me I was supposed to be, because I didn't want to be a toxic masculine. Oh, God forbid. I want to be a good masculine. And it wasn't until I got to the deepest point that I saw through the relationship, it didn't produce the results. Remember, everything divine is testable and it will always produce results for you. Anything that is deception might sell a good game, but it's never going to produce results and it will be exposed. Period. So it's beautiful. You can test all of these things. Test them out. Test it all in your relationships right now. And here's the thing. This is how deep the polarity inversion goes. It's like being a drug addict. It's like not being sober. You have to maintain sobriety once you achieve it. So men, once you achieve a dominant field of masculinity, you have to maintain it. And it could take one exchange in a society that enables you to revert to that emasculation. It's only one exchange and you lose that dominant field. Ladies, you have to maintain your feminine field. It only takes one exchange, one trigger, one component, one wound that isn't dealt with to go into this inauthentic alpha female or beta female psychosis, so socially engineered distortion. So once you gain it, you have to maintain it. But I promise you this, it gets easier and easier, just like sobriety, to maintain your authentic polarity. And I promise you this, you will start naturally attracting other authentically polarized individuals. And you will start pushing away the socially engineered, inauthentic inversion, abomination, mutation. So that's our show, you know? Boom, whole mind, dropping some info in the chat room. I appreciate all of this. So much beautiful interaction here. This is what it's all about. We all have to look at this together collectively. There's no way we get out of this without that. That's it. And there are powerful practices that you can do. Like I said, just even through some of the breath work that we do, you can start balancing the hemispheres of your brain. If your brain is in balance in its hemispheres, it's going to alter your perception of reality. Bottom line, reconnecting with the divine, with source, not just meditating, not just praying. Talk to God, talk to the divine. Spirit is there all the time in the blacks of your eyes, going through everything that you are. You have somebody there to communicate with. They're just sitting there, bearing witness, being the listener. But you're not talking to them, but they're still listening. They're still present with you. Again, like I said, it's a fork in the road. There's no middle ground. You got to start choosing. Either you're going to go into the inversion, into the deception of this matrix, or you're going to start returning to the divine way. And natural law and your free will is the guide. That's our show. I'll see you guys tomorrow for those tuning in on Rumble and on People for People Radio. I'm going to get into some deep decodes. We got a lot to catch up on over the last couple weeks, and I'm looking forward to coming back for Release Sundays Live. Got some really cool guests. I have, different things to start checking off us addressing, like the Vedas and the Hindu religion, which to many Christians they look at as part of the pagan false god system. And it's just not. All of these deities are expressions of one God, just like angels. And so we have a master of the Vedas. His name's Gadai. he said he's down to come on and talk about the Vedas. And I mean, I'll tell you what, I'm taking notes every time I talk to him. So, and we have him coming on. We have some amazing guests coming up that'll be coming on as well. And I'll keep you in pace for the progressions with release part 3. We're diving right back in, actually. And it's looking like it'll be coming out in March, just so everybody knows, because we were going to have our next apprenticeship program, but unfortunately they expanded the mandates. Us and China, U.S. and China, only ones doing the quacks mandate right now if you're a non-U.S. national. So we have a lot of amazing practitioners and apprentices to be that want to come in for the program, but they can't get in. So they extended it to April 10th. Now with the level of disclosure and exposure coming, I think that's going to be lifted beforehand. So we're holding space for May for that, and anyone in the US, obviously you don't have that, so if you want to work on your prerequisite or want more information about the upcoming program, you can check all that stuff out at matrixbodymechanics.com, and you can always write us at matrixbodymechanics at gmail.com. Our dear magical administrator Anne-Marie will be able to field your questions. She was in the chat room today, and yes, a true embodied vessel that's working her return to that feminine polarity, as we all have. We have it on our plate. It's one of our responsibilities to return to that natural state. So on that, we'll see you guys tomorrow if you choose to tune in, and I'll see you next Sunday for Release Sundays Live. Aloha and Sat Nam.